Hello everybody and welcome back to another not applicable Formula 1 video. I hope that you're well and I hope you're enjoying getting ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And I thought we're around about halfway through the season now and I want to delve into the man that has taken the grid by absolute storm, Mr. Lando Norris. He has been absolutely sensational throughout this entire season and I wanted to go back, look at the 10 races we've had so far, really delve into what has made Lando Norris this good this season. What's actually gone his way and how has he managed to make this massive step forward? If we look at the Drivers' Championship right now, Lando Norris sits on 113 points. Third place. He is ahead of a Mercedes and ahead of a Red Bull, both Ferraris and his teammate. He is absolutely smashing it when it comes to points this season, and he has been so incredibly consistent. But let's have a look through the races so far this season. Let's have a look at Bahrain to begin with. So it wasn't like a blisteringly good start to the Grand Prix season for Lando Norris. He qualified in 7th, and it was pretty good. And then he managed to end up in 4th. And let's consider, Perez had a really tough weekend. Obviously didn't make the starting grid. Both of the Mercedes and Max Verstappen were in front of him. 4th place was the best he could probably be, and it wasn't an easy race for him. He had to beat out his teammate in Ricciardo, who was having an exceptionally good first race for McLaren. And, everyone was talking about Ricciardo after this race as being taking a step in a new team and looking good in a new team. Obviously, he had that issue with hitting Gasly, but Lando Norris really had to battle with Ricciardo at the beginning of the race and really had to battle with Leclerc towards the end of it too. It was not an easy 4th place for Lando Norris. And, this was maybe the start of what was to come for Lando Norris. Because in Imola, again, it was tricky, but very, very consistent. Qualified 7th again, and then in the race managed to get his first podium of the season. And all he did was make an incredible recovery drive. He was all the way down in 9th at one point, and it was looking like it was going to be all over for him, to be honest with you. Then, obviously, they had the George Russell incident with Bottas. He grabbed a couple of places there. Then he managed to get in front of his teammate. And now he was in this really clean bit of air. And he just kept it incredibly clean. During the rain, obviously, everybody was spinning off. Everybody was having issues. Everybody was crashing into barriers left, right, and centre. Except Lando Norris. And this is where his season really started to take a step forward for me. He just was incredibly professional throughout this entire Imola drive and was more than capable of getting that 3rd place over the course of the race. Then we moved into Portugal. Again, qualified 7th. Pretty good qualifying. I think this qualifying pace was something that came later on in the season. When I think of Lando Norris at the moment, I'm thinking of him qualifying in the top 5. That was not the case at the beginning of the season. As you can see, consistently in 7th, but finishing higher than he started. And he finished in 5th in Portugal. A great start. Managed to get in front of the safety car as well. So used that safety car opportunity to jump a couple of places. And let's be honest, Mercedes and Red Bull were just too quick. That's why he ended up 5th. He was the 5th fastest car on the day. He is the 5th fastest car on the circuit, let's be honest. And he ended up 5th. It was the best he could do with both Red Bulls and both Mercedes finishing fairly handedly. Spain was a little bit of a dip. Qualified in 9th, finished in 8th, really struggled with this track, and I'm not really sure where this happened with Lando Norris. I couldn't find anything with him having any difficulties in terms of his engine or in terms of the car itself. I think he just struggled a little bit with this track, and you're allowed one of those every single season where he was just a little bit off the pace, even lost to Ricciardo in this race for the first time in the season. And again, after this race, I was talking about, moving into Monaco. Maybe Daniel Ricciardo can take a step forward. Lando Norris is under a little bit of pressure now. And he just took that pressure and turned it into a 3rd place finish. It was absolutely amazing from Lando Norris in Monaco. Just let everybody else in front of him have problems. Again, just an incredibly clean race. And I think that's the thing with Lando Norris we're seeing this season. He is just incredibly clean, keeps everything neat and tidy, and doesn't really have any incidents with any other drivers over the course of a race. It's how he managed to grab his podium in Imola. It was just incredibly clean in the wet, and again, incredibly clean in a track where there is no overtaking. If you can just keep your car on the track, if you can keep your car consistently going around, you're going to pick up points. And he managed to do so, qualified in 5th, raced in 3rd. Obviously, Leclerc and Bottas, both in front of him, had issues, picked up a podium, an absolutely incredible drive for him in Monaco. And we're 5 races into the 10 races so far this season. And as you can see, Lando Norris is just continually picking up points, continually picking up places, always qualifying, in and around 7th, 8th, 9th, and then just making up some places in the positions when it comes to the race. His race pace has been incredible. And again, it just comes down to that real maturity from him that he's coming through in this 3rd season, where he's just picking up points, just picking up podiums by being on track, by being incredibly clean and waiting for a Red Bull, waiting for a Mercedes to have a problem or make a mistake. And then Azerbaijan, I think, was a little bit of a turning point for me. Again, he had an awful start. Qualified in 9th, ended up in 5th, and it was not looking like he was going to pick up points. I know he's been on this incredible points run over the last 15 races. It did not look like he was going to pick up points here. I would say that the Mercedes, the Red Bull, the Aston Martin, and the Ferraris all looked quicker around Azerbaijan. It was an awful start, but just clean and patient and incredibly professional drive from him. He waited until Sainz made a mistake. He waited until Stroll hit the wall. Verstappen hit the wall. Hamilton obviously drove off the edge of the track. And he just gained those 4 places by being patient, by letting other drivers make mistakes, by letting other drivers come into trouble, and just driving incredibly professionally, keeping himself in and amongst the points, in and amongst positions where he could pick up if anybody made a mistake, if something went wrong for somebody else. And that's what you see from a championship driver. They are always in the right place at the right time. And it seems that Lando Norris is one of those drivers at the minute that just seems to always be in the right place at the right time. It goes wrong for somebody at Red Bull. If it goes wrong for somebody at Mercedes, Lando Norris is the man that picks up the pieces and manages to get that extra little kick from everybody else. We move into France, and this is where personally I started to take Lando Norris incredibly seriously as a future world champion. I think it was this track in France. He just came to life for me. That incredible move on Alonso, an exceptional move on Gasly as well, and an incredible move on Leclerc. We had the team orders with Daniel Ricciardo, and he just looked electric. He just looked like nothing was ever going to get in the way of him picking up points. Nothing was going to get in the way of him improving on his qualifying pace. So he qualified in 8th. A little bit tricky for him to take, but again, the 5th fastest car. The 5th fastest car on the track and finishes 5th, consistently picks up those points. And as I was saying, his driving capabilities really came out in France for me. Again, I was thinking France was going to be a track that lended itself to Daniel Ricciardo to maybe make up some points and maybe make up some ground on Lando Norris. Absolutely not. Lando Norris made sure that he drove the absolute socks off of that McLaren and was incredibly quick throughout the weekend. Then we moved on to what I think is a perfect track for Lando Norris, the Austrian Red Bull Ring. He just looked so incredibly quick, qualifying 3rd. When it comes to that 1 lap pace, this is where he finally kicked into gear. We were looking at 7ths and 5ths, and now he's qualifying in those top 3. He's breaking into the Mercedes and the Red Bull. He's breaking that front row, second row up, and getting really high up there in terms of qualifying. I think it's unfortunate for him, and Lando Norris has talked about this himself, the fact that he is the 5th fastest car on the grid. He can't really, if everything goes well for Red Bull or if everything goes well for Mercedes, he does not have anywhere near the pace that those guys have. And we saw this perfectly sort of shown in the Styrian Grand Prix. He put in an incredible battle. It was a great track for him. He was really high in confidence and he battled away. He tried to get in front of Perez, tried to get in front of Bottas, continually chipping away at them, but was just never able to really make it count and ended up finishing about 30 seconds off of the Red Bull and Mercedes in front of him. So it was tricky for him because he was by far and away faster than the rest of the grid. He, again, finished miles in front of everyone behind him. Carlos Sainz was talking about maybe he would have caught Norris and had a battle with him if he wouldn't have got caught behind Hamilton. I personally don't think so. I think Lando Norris was absolutely incredible over the course of this weekend again. And I feel like I'm repeating myself. He was consistent. He just continually brought the pace when he needed it, qualified exceptionally well, and, he just couldn't battle with those other cars. And he just made sure that when those other cars had an issue, when we came to the same track in Austria, he did one better in qualifying in 2nd. And again, he waited for those guys to have a problem. Yes, he battled incredibly hard. Again, managed to get a 5-second penalty because of that incident with Perez. Yes, but again, he was trying to keep that car in front of the Red Bull. And the Red Bull by far and away is the quicker car around here, right? But he was trying to keep it in front of it. Yes, he deserved that 5-second penalty, but he did not let that get in his way because he managed to also get in front of a damaged Hamilton. And again, he has to take advantage of when a Red Bull and when a Mercedes don't finish the race, he gets up on the podium. Hamilton obviously had an issue, dropped down behind Norris, and Perez, after that incident, then had 2 incidents with Leclerc and finished absolutely nowhere. So when it comes to the fact, if those Red Bull and Mercedes drop out of the race, Lando Norris is the man that takes up the mantle. He is the man that is always there in the right place at the right time. And that is what you get with a World Championship level driver. That is what you get with somebody who is going to go on to win World Championships in the next few seasons. He's always in the right place at the right time, keeps it on the track, keeps it lovely and clean, and is incredibly consistent. And we saw that again in the British Grand Prix. Personally, for me, without that slow stop, he's on the podium. I think he was better than Bottas on the day. And that is a real talking point. Whether this McLaren, they're taking steps forwards as a team. Towards the beginning of the season, I'd maybe say that the AlphaTauri of Gasly looked a little bit quicker. The Ferraris looked a little bit quicker than the McLarens. But they are taking real steps forward of a team. They're taking real steps forward to put Lando Norris in this position here. They're now, quite comfortably the 3rd fastest car in the Constructors. They've got a little bit of a buffer to Ferrari. And Lando Norris has got quite the buffer to Leclerc in terms of championship points as well. So Lando Norris this season, for me, has been absolutely sensational. And looking back over those 10 races, there is not one race in there where I think he's put a foot wrong. He has been so incredibly good. And I'm going to put myself out there. I know that Lando Norris is not talked about in the same rhetoric as George Russell or Leclerc, but I personally think George Russell could be a World Championship driver. Maybe a little bit like a Jenson Button. Maybe he just needs a season where it falls in his lap. Maybe he just needs a season, where he can find a little bit of pace in a car. But I think he's so consistent, so incredibly good at what he does, and just gets the most out of that McLaren. It would be amazing if he could turn the McLaren team around. Next year we move into a completely different scenario. Nobody knows what 2022 is going to hold. And I personally think that Lando Norris could put himself up into contention for the World Drivers' Championship. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. Am I absolutely mental, or do you think Lando Norris could do it? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.